the words themselves are kind of infused with the vibration. The way the story goes, the rishis in ancient India heard Sanskrit. It was a heard language rather than a concocted language. And that each object or anything you can describe, the theory goes, vibrates at a certain level, and that vibration makes a sound. And so that the sounds that are associated with Sanskrit words are the actual sounds of the material thing or object or whatever they're trying to, or concept that you're trying to describe.
Okay. So that's interesting. So the unique vibration of like a thought and like a philosophy, like I mean like samsara, for instance, is like a whole concept of half the basis
of everything, of yoga. Well, like a lot of those, like yoga, Buddhism, the whole conditioned existence, karma. So the way it would work is if you really wanted to understand samsara, maybe you would chant the word samsara and try to like intuit
and feel it,
the meaning of it, rather than just saying the word and grasping a concept that is just a label. Kind of the same idea if you see a tree and you experience a tree, or you could just say tree and kind of look away. But like that's not really a description of the experience of the object. Like if you really understand a tree, you want to just feel the tree, go up and experience the tree. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does it look like? All of it. So that's why the chanting in Sanskrit, especially like things like the Yoga Sutras, which are these teachings that used to just be taught orally, and now they've been written down. But just doing the chanting helps to understand on a deeper level the concepts that you're trying to learn. Let's start with a little practice. Let's do a little chanting.
Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. He's a lawyer.
So that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, I took a turn, and like when I was young, I was a lot more open to that stuff, and I even minored in religion in college, but more kind of from the analytical perspective, just really into learning about all different religions and different cultures, and ways of travel. And then went the other way, where it got just very mind-focused, material-minded, and then through just like how my life unfolded and personal tragedy, then you come to see, wow, this is more about my path of the heart. And I'm like a devotional yogi now, like I'm more of a bhakti than anything and much about the heart. But it's really cool to have both, like sometimes you see, people that maybe come at it with so much heart, which is great, but then don't have the sort of rational way to back it up. And then you lose some of the more rational folk that you can't communicate with because they're just not going to get it on a heart level. So the more we can develop both and be like, be humans that are heart-minded. I think that's kind of funny, heart-minded, mind-hearted. But we need leaders, the people that are smart, that also know how to listen to their emotions and feel energies and vibrations and really kind of get into the flow, so that because it's all one, right?
Right.
If we're all kind of pieces of the same thing, the same stuff, we need to be vibing and taking care of all of us, of all us earthlings, and not thinking of things as in a competitive way, which is kind of what happens when we get too mind focused. Because it does. So when you do the exercises, and if you spend just an hour a day or whatever, 15 minutes a day or an hour 3 times a week, whatever your time committed to the practices, then you naturally start to develop these qualities, these yamas and niyamas, without necessarily having to grasp them and force after them. Like, I'm going to practice truth, I'm going to practice non-stealing. It's just kind of is a natural process through the practice, because the practice cleanses your energy system, makes your body stronger, and it becomes easier to follow these things. So they're all interconnected, and then at the same time, you can kind of practice them individually. You can look at your life and see in which ways maybe you're not practicing truthfulness, or parigraha, that's one of them, that's non-grasping, because we do have this habit of grasping the things in our life rather than having this non-attached way of feeling. We may as well say what they are. We've started them. So it's the yamas are satya, which is truthfulness, ahimsa, non-harm, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, which, let's go back to that one, and then the last one is aparigraha. That's the one I just said, the non-grasping. So Brahmacharya, I skipped it for a second because that one's got some connotations of celibacy. That's usually how people describe it, but it really means Brahma is associated with like the supreme God, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Charya means living in. So Brahmacharya really means living in the divine or living in a state of surrender to the one. So those are the 5 yamas, and then the niyamas are, let's see, what do they start with? Sauka, which is purity, santosha, contentment, tapas, which are purifying rituals or austerities, like even asana could be considered a purifying practice, practices that help cleanse and make pure. Ishvara pranidaya, which is surrender to whatever form speaks to you of the divine. Ishvara means like your divine form, so for some people it could be the Divine Mother or Jesus or Buddha or nothing or whatever, but it's kind of like whatever you connect with.
That's a separate one?
That's one of the niyamas.
Cool. And then what was the one before that?
It's santosha is sauka, purity, santosha is contentment, tapas is the purifying rituals, and I think I skipped svadhyaya, which is self-study, and then the last one, ishvara pranidaya, which is surrender to your form of the divine, whatever that may be. And the Yoga Sutras say in a later sutra that you should really practice according to your own cultural and religious heritage, that that's the easiest way to practice yoga or practice getting in that state of oneness, is what makes sense to you, how you were raised, or the culture that you came into, rather than trying to adopt a different culture.